What if the way you cook your eggs every morning is slowly undermining your health and you don't even know it? Let me be blunt. One seemingly minor cooking mistake could be laying the groundwork for deadly complications. I'm talking about eggs, the protein-packed staple you trust, that you've relied on for decades to start your day right. The truth is, how you prepare these eggs can be the difference between a nourishing meal and a recipe for disaster. The science is clear. Subjecting your eggs to high, unregulated heat causes chemical reactions that, over time, burden your aging body with harmful compounds. These aren't just harmless byproducts. They are advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which accelerate inflammation and damage vital tissues. Have you ever wondered why, despite eating what you believe is a healthy breakfast, you sometimes feel sluggish or experience unexplained aches? The secret lies in the method of preparation. Overcooking eggs triggers structural changes in proteins, making them not only harder to digest, but also more likely to impair natural cellular processes. Imagine for a moment a scenario where a patient you care about, let's call her Joan, had always followed the same routine, frying eggs until the edges are dangerously crisp. Over years, these seemingly insignificant moments add up, subtly impairing her heart function and metabolic balance. Joan wasn't born with these conditions. They were, in part, fostered by a consistent pattern of overcooked proteins that wreaked havoc at a cellular level. Now ask yourself, could your daily routine be quietly contributing to a systemic problem that might one day prove life-threatening? There's another hidden enemy, bacteria. Eggs, when improperly stored or exposed to fluctuating temperatures, can become a breeding ground for pathogens such as salmonella. Even with modern refrigeration, every time you leave eggs in the door, exposing them to warm air, you risk reducing their inherent defenses. Consider that every meal could be a battleground, where one misstep in handling transforms a wholesome food into a potential hazard. This is not paranoia. This is science speaking directly to your lifelong experience and the vulnerabilities that come with age. The urgency cannot be overstated. Your body, built over years of perseverance, now demands a more considerate, vigilant approach. Every unmonitored high-heat session in your kitchen is a roll of the dice. You might feel fine now. Your body may have compensated for these small insults over time, but compensation has limits, and the toll accumulates silently until it's too late. Take a moment and reflect. Have you ever wondered if that satisfying sizzle when frying eggs could be trading off your long-term well-being? Let's break it down further. When eggs are cooked on high heat, especially in heavy oils or butter, they develop high concentrations of oxidized cholesterol and AGEs. These compounds can accelerate the progression of heart disease, worsen diabetes, and even compromise your cognitive health. Advanced glycation end products, formed when sugars bind improperly to proteins, have been implicated in numerous studies as key contributors to chronic inflammation. Inflammation is not a mere inconvenience. It's the underlying force behind many of the conditions that plague older adults. Think about those times when you dismissed a bit of fatigue or a hint of joint pain. What if those were early warnings of an inflammatory cascade set off by something as innocuous as your cooking method? Your body's natural defense system is resilient, but not infinite. Over decades, persistent exposure to these harmful substances can erode your immune response, leaving you vulnerable to infections and chronic illnesses. It's a vicious cycle. Poor cooking methods reduce nutrient absorption, diminish antioxidant protection, and trigger inflammation. The resulting state is one where every bite you take might be gradually pushing you toward a state of physical decline, a decline that could, in severe cases, mean losing the independence you cherish so dearly. Now, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if I could share with you a better way to prepare this everyday food, a method that not only preserves its nutritional value, but also shields your body from these dangerous compounds? Imagine a life where each meal you consume actively works in your favor, where science-backed practices replace outdated habits that may be harming you. Picture yourself slowly reclaiming energy, mental clarity, and the robust health you thought was a relic of your younger days. The answer is simpler than you might think. Instead of frying eggs at high temperatures, consider switching to gentler methods like poaching, steaming, or lightly scrambling at a moderate heat. In these methods, the egg's natural proteins remain intact, its essential amino acids are preserved, and the formation of harmful compounds is minimized. Poaching, for instance, keeps the egg submerged in water, heated to just the right temperature to safeguard its nutritional integrity. When you choose this method, you're not sacrificing flavor or tradition. You're making a deliberate choice to empower your health. Consider this. In clinical practice, I've seen firsthand how switching from high-heat frying to a more moderate cooking process can transform a patient's condition. Take, for example, a gentleman, let's call him Robert, who had been a lifelong aficionado of crispy fried eggs. Robert began experiencing increased fatigue, mysterious joint stiffness, and even sporadic heart palpitations. After a detailed consultation, we discovered that his routine preparation method was generating excessive ages and oxidized fats. Once he altered his method, switching to gentle scrambling with a touch of olive oil, his symptoms began to diminish. His energy levels improved, and his lab results eventually demonstrated a significant reduction in inflammatory markers. This isn't an isolated incident, it is a recurring theme among those who adjust their cooking practices with mindfulness and scientific insight. Have you ever felt that nagging worry each time you notice your energy flagging, or when a familiar ache signals that something is off? That worry, that concern, is valid. It's not just the natural effects of aging. It might be the consequence of subtle everyday choices in the kitchen that have gone unchecked for far too long. Every time you use a high-temperature method to cook your eggs, you're inviting a cascade of chemical reactions that your system has to manage. Over time, the accumulation of these reactions can precipitate a health crisis. It isn't hyperbole to say that this is a matter of life and death. The stakes are real, because your body doesn't have the same resilience it once did. One must also consider the importance of proper storage as an equally critical factor. When eggs are allowed to remain in environments where temperature control is inconsistent, bacteria can multiply at an alarming rate. Even a short period of exposure to room temperature or the repetitive cycle of temperature fluctuations in a refrigerator door can compromise the egg's safety. This is not just about avoiding a bout of food poisoning, it's about preventing systemic, low-grade infections that silently sap your vitality and accelerate chronic disease processes. Every time you open that egg carton, remember that your vigilance is key to preventing potentially life-altering consequences. What about the added layer of risk when eggs are combined with other unhealthy choices? Many of us have grown up with traditional recipes that call for generous amounts of butter, cream, or even processed ingredients that contribute additional harmful fats and preservatives. This cocktail of danger is compounded when high-heat cooking further transforms the egg's structure. When fat is present during frying, there's an increased risk of generating oxidized cholesterol. This can have a direct impact on your arteries, causing them to stiffen over time. And stiffened arteries are a precursor to a myriad of cardiovascular events that can strike without warning and with devastating consequences. Consider for a moment that a single risky ingredient, meticulously monitored, can turn an ordinary meal into a slow-acting toxin. Every ingredient matters. Every method matters. There's no room for carelessness when your life depends on each molecular interaction that occurs during cooking. Those tiny, overlooked missteps can add up to a much larger picture of cumulative harm, which is why modifying these practices is not simply beneficial, but essential. Reflect on your daily routines and how they've sustained you for all these years. With time, the same habits that once provided comfort now require reevaluation in light of new, more rigorous scientific evidence. What we once accepted as normal must now be questioned. In fact, recent studies have shown that long-term exposure to dietary ages is linked to decreased muscle strength and impaired function in older adults. Every muscle that supports you in your daily activities, every limb that carries you through your treasured moments, is working against a backdrop of chemical changes initiated in your kitchen. The reliability of your body, The independence you have fought so hard to maintain hinges on these very choices. Now think deeply about your own health. Can you afford to risk your future by continuing with outdated and potentially dangerous cooking techniques? The knowledge is out there, and it demands immediate action. Whether you are preparing a single egg or a full breakfast, the way in which you bring that food to life matters. It matters immensely because you deserve to live a life unmarred by preventable health crises. Your kitchen should be a sanctuary of nourishment, not a covert source of harm. Listen carefully. If the idea that a simple change in your cooking method could vastly improve your overall health doesn't shake you, consider the quiet, relentless toll that those risky compounds have been exacting on your vital organs over the years. Every minute you spend using high heat increases the likelihood that your arteries, joints, and muscles are being compromised. It is a ticking time bomb that you have the power to defuse simply by choosing a more mindful approach. Isn't it time to take that step? Isn't it time to reclaim the vigor that you know is still within you? Even the way you interact with your ingredients matters. When you handle eggs, do so with the deliberate care of someone who understands the delicate balance between life and decay. Use tools like thermometers to ensure that you're cooking at an ideal temperature, not too hot to destroy the integrity of the egg, but just warm enough to eliminate any risk of bacterial infection. This is about precision. This is about respect for your own body. In every action you take, you're either supporting your future or unwittingly sabotaging it. I urge you to remember that this is not just culinary advice, it is a life or death briefing. What if I told you that modern research confirms that even slight reductions in cooking temperature can lead to measurable improvements in blood markers for inflammation and oxidative stress? What if the simple act of switching from frying to poaching not only saves nutrient density, but actively preserves your heart, your muscles, and even your brain function? These are not abstract notions. They are concrete benefits validated by clinical studies and real-world experiences. They are your lifeline in a world where every small decision matters. This is the moment to rethink what you've always known about cooking eggs. Do not let nostalgia or routine keep you chained to habits that, unbeknownst to you, might be slowly eroding your health. Every time you prepare a meal, you hold in your hands the power to either enhance your longevity or compromise it. Ask yourself, am I willing to let another day slip by under the weight of preventable damage? Your time is precious, your independence non-negotiable. This is your call to action. Now consider another crucial aspect, the integration of nutrient-dense, antioxidant-rich foods alongside your eggs. Pairing eggs with vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, or kale doesn't just add flavor. It counteracts oxidative stress and provides essential nutrients that bolster your body's natural defenses. These antioxidants serve as protectors, neutralizing free radicals produced during high-heat cooking. When you incorporate these foods, you create a balanced meal that supports cell renewal and overall vitality. It is no exaggeration to say that each meal prepared with care and balance can be a shield protecting you against the ravages of time. I want you to visualize each egg, each meal, as a deliberate act of self-preservation. Every measured decision is a stand against a future you may not want to face, a future marked by preventable chronic illness and debilitating decline. As you stand in your kitchen tomorrow, recall the gravity of what's at stake. Recount the evidence, the clinical cases, the transformative effects witnessed by patients who dared to alter their routines. Use this knowledge as a safeguard for the remainder of your days. So, what concrete steps can you take right now? The protocol is simple but must be followed with unwavering commitment. First, inspect your eggs when you shop. Select the freshest, highest quality ones. Then, ensure that you store them properly, away from the fluctuating temperatures of the refrigerator door. When it comes to cooking, moderate the heat. Use techniques that preserve the egg's natural structure without pushing it past the threshold of chemical change. And always, always pair these proteins with fresh antioxidant-rich ingredients that protect and enhance your body's defenses. Visualize your kitchen as your personal lab. A space where every culinary decision has consequences for your life and independence. This isn't merely about following a trend, it's about recognizing that every second counts when it comes to your health. Every fry, every sizzle, every moment the egg meets intense heat is a potential risk factor. But with careful, precise adjustments, you hold the reins to steer your future in a direction that celebrates vitality, rather than succumbing to the stealthy breakdown of your body's systems. I urge you now to commit to these changes as if your life depended on them, because in a very real sense, it does. Consider the wisdom of adapting to new evidence rather than clinging to habits that no longer serve you. This is not an alarm meant to create panic, but a clear, unwavering mandate. Adapt your methods or risk irreversible damage over time. The science is unequivocal, and the stakes are too high to ignore. Before we conclude, consider one final thought. Every moment spent in the kitchen is an opportunity to either add to your years of independence or chip away at it. Each decision, each adjustment, is a declaration of war against the slow, insidious decline that modern cooking habits can cause. You've been given decades to build a resilient body. Now is the time to defend it with every tool at your disposal, every mindful gesture, every measured degree of heat, every careful combination of ingredients. Remember, this is not merely about eggs, it's about taking control of a destiny that no one else can secure for you. It's about being proactive in the face of an enemy that works silently against you. Every time you stand in your kitchen, take a deep breath and commit to this battle for your health. With the right techniques, the proper handling of your food, and an unwavering commitment to scientific truth, you have the power to turn each meal into a triumph over the stealthy adversaries of inflammation, oxidation, and systemic decay. The gravity of this choice, your everyday choice, is undeniable. The responsibility rests solely on your shoulders, and the time to act is now. Embrace these simple yet powerful changes and transform every plate into a beacon of hope for a healthier, longer, and more independent future. This isn't just a recipe, it's your blueprint for survival. Now take this message to heart and let it guide every decision in your kitchen. Imagine the empowerment of knowing that through precise, informed cooking, you're not only protecting your own health, but also setting an example for those you love. That legacy of care and wisdom is the real treasure, the life you continue to lead, full of energy, resilience, and determination. This is your life or death briefing on something as fundamental as the preparation of an egg. Absorb every word, let the urgency sink in, and resolve that from this moment on, your kitchen will be a place of calculated, life-sustaining decisions. Every second you delay may be a second too many. Choose wisely, act decisively, and secure your future one perfectly cooked egg at a time.